You're listening to the weekly Parsha Podcast with Ari Goldwag, recorded with Hashem's never-ending assistance in Ramat Beit Shemesh, Israel, 5785, 2025. This week's Parsha is Parsha Shlach, and I'd like to take you past the story of the Meraglim, past the events that happened there, where they went to Eretz Yisrael, they came back with a negative report. I want to start our story in the moment where HaKadosh Baruch Hu is angry at Am Yisrael for listening to the report of the spies. Am Yisrael is crying in the tents. It's Tisha B'Av, the first Tisha B'Av. And Hashem says, look, I'm ready to destroy them. Hashem gets upset. Pasuk says in Perek Yudal, Pasuk Yudal, Vayomer Hashem Moshe, Ad ona yinatzuni ha'amazeh. How long will these people speak so disparagingly of me? Will they defy me? How come they're not? How long will they not believe in me? Hashem's like, I've done so many miracles for you. I took you out of Egypt. I made sure that all the people were taken out of the hospital before that missile landed. I'm doing miracles for you every moment, every day. How come they don't believe in me today? I tell them I'm going to bring them into Eretz Yisrael, and it's an awesome place to be. Why don't you trust me? So Hashem says, I'm gonna take them out. I'm gonna bring a Mageifa on them, heaven forbid, a plague, and I'm gonna start a new nation with you, Moshe. Moshe says, it's not a good idea. It's interesting, this conversation. It's not a good idea. The Egyptians will say, look, they took them out of Egypt, but he couldn't bring them into the land of Israel. That's why he destroyed them. So it's not a good idea. You can't kill them. Viata. Now here's the psukim that we're going to focus on. Moshe Rabbeinu says the following. Now, Yigdal na koyach Hashem. Hashem, you told me a trick. You told me a secret about how to get atonement when Am Yisrael does something wrong. I'm the leader. I have to speak on their behalf. You taught me what to do. You told me to say the Yud Gimel Midas Shorachamim, 13 attributes of Hashem's mercy, which interestingly, he doesn't say all of them here. He says some of them. Hashem Erech Hapayim. God is slow to anger. V'rav Chesed, God is kind. God removes sin. He cleans it off to those who do tshuva. He doesn't clean it off, as Rashi explains, for those who don't do tshuva. I'm skipping a little bit. Forgive the sin of this nation with your great kindness. You've been carrying them until now, since they left Egypt. Maybe from the time that they were in Egypt until now. Hashem says, I forgive as you have said. I forgive as you have said. So Moshe Rabbeinu says, Hashem, it's very interesting, this conversation, because like Hashem says he's going to destroy them. Moshe says, Hashem, you're patient. And Hashem says, okay, I forgive them. So I'm reminded of a concept we've spoken about in the past, that Moshe is, and we all are, the midah, the positive attribute of Hashem. The way that it manifests in the world is based on us. Am Yisrael does an avera because of their negativity, we could say. Because of their impatience, believing that, it's not possible for us to get in there. So Hashem responds with impatience, as it were. Midah keneged midah, measure for measure. But Moshe Rabbeinu, as a leader, and any of us can do this too, and we spoke about this in the Bitachon Podcast, and I urge you to go back to the Bitachon Podcast number 213, listen to that. We, through our judgment, or lack of judgment, our mechila, we, through our patience, we draw into the world Hashem's patience, as it were. Hashem has midas. Hashem has the ways that he interacts with us. But the way that he interacts with us depends on us. If we're impatient and we think, oh, how are we going to get into Eretz Yisrael? Hashem is impatient with us. Moshe Rabbeinu says, Hashem, you taught me. Hashem, Yigdal na koyach Hashem. The real power, Hashem, your power of kindness is real. You have patience. Your erech hapayim, you're slow to anger. And Hashem says, Salachti kidvarecha. You've changed the midah. By Moshe Rabbeinu asking for forgiveness, everything changes. But now listen to what happens immediately after this. And this is the medrash I'd like to read to you, is on this pasuk. Pasuk says in Perek Yudaled, pasuk Chaf Aleph, V'ulam chai ani. Hashem says, however, I am the living God. V'yimali kvod Hashem is called Arts, and my honor fills the entire land. Which means to say that it's true that I am a patient God. And you have activated, as it were, my patience. But there's still justice. When we behave in a way which is demanding and impetuous, so the result is that Hashem is also demanding. Now, we can ask for mechila, we can ask for a reprieve, and a reprieve really means that I'm saying, hold on, don't bring out my judgment yet, give me a chance maybe to do tshuva, give me a chance to state my case, to say something on my own behalf. Let me not make an excuse, but explain what happened. So Hashem says, we're going to slow things down. Instead of them all dying in one fell swoop right now. Interesting. Whoever sees my honor, which means, right, whenever Hashem shows his presence, so it expresses his honor, the Anoni HaKavod, the clouds of his glory, they appear, the story of Korach. The clouds represent Hashem is there. I'm here. It's like the father comes in, the kids are fighting, the father comes in and he says, oh, what's going on here? You all see my honor, Hashem says. You see that I'm present and you see my signs, which means that if you see Hashem's miracles, there's a greater requirement of you. There's a deeper thing that happens when I see a miracle. If I see Hashem's presence, I'm called to a higher calling. I have a higher obligation. I have a deeper requirement. I can't just say, oh, how are we going to get into Eretz Yisrael? What do you mean? I see the miracles that Hashem is doing for me. Hashem is going to continue to do them for me. If I deny Hashem or deny the fact that I could get into Eretz Yisrael, it shows that I don't believe in Hashem's miracles, even though He's doing them for me. The miracles Hashem says that I did in Egypt and that I did in the wilderness. So Am Yisrael didn't listen. They tested me 10 times, Hashem says, which means to say, endlessly. And here's the kicker. I'm not going to kill them now, but this group of people will not see the land. The land that I promised. All those who spoke negatively of me, they got me angry. They caused me anger. They're not going to see the land. Their kids will see the land, but they won't see the land. And it's a very sad situation. All they had to do was trust in Hashem and they would have walked into Eretz Yisrael, but instead, they didn't trust in Hashem. Despite all of the assurances and despite all the miracles, they didn't trust in Hashem. And so Hashem stretches out the time. Right? They could have been destroyed all in one moment. Hashem would start over from Moshe. No, they're going to all have kids. We're going to stretch out the time. Each one of them is going to die. And as Mefarshim point out, they all lived a long life, or a relatively long life. They didn't die at that moment. They lived to be 60, every single one of them. When it got to their 60th birthday, they passed away. So they died out throughout the years in the Midbar, time in the wilderness. But I want to point out here that there's a concept of waiting. We're going to see this in the Medrash. There's a concept of waiting, that somehow through waiting, the Jewish people should have gone in right now. They were anxious. They were impatient. They said, we can't do it though. It's too hard. And Hashem showed impatience towards them. And Moshe Rabbeinu says, you are erech hapayim, you are patient. You're a patient God. And so Hashem showed patience and they didn't all die. And there was a 40-year period, a stretched out period. The time was expanded where they would have to wait. The kapara, the atonement for this great sin of impatience was that they would have to be patient. And patient to the point where they wouldn't even experience that salvation themselves. They wouldn't themselves walk into Eretz Yisrael, but their kids would. Somehow the patience, the stretched out time, the waiting brings us back to the root of our problem, that impatience. When Moshe Rabbeinu was on Har Sinai, he's about to come down. He's receiving the luchos, he's about to bring them down. And Am Yisrael, the Yetzer Hara comes and says, look, Moshe's dead. They don't even look carefully. They're impatient. And they sin. That's where all of the sins come from. The Alter Nevaris talks about this. The Yetzer Hara works with quickness. And the Yetzer Tov, the voice of Hashem is heard. Kol Dema Madaka, it's a quiet voice. We have to clear away all of the noise of our mind, which is, I need it now. Quickly. Geula now. Moshiach achshav. We want Moshiach now. We don't want to wait. That's not how Moshiach comes. It comes with patience. When I get into Eretz Yisrael, you need to have patience. Eretz Yisrael is niknas b'yasurim. Land of Israel is acquired through difficulties. That means you got to have patience. You could come to Eretz Yisrael, and I've told people that the first year is going to be Gehenna. It's going to be hard. You got to have patience. You got to bust through. Now, let's see the Medrash together. It talks about the idea of patience. Pasuk says later on, Ben Estim Shon of Amala, 20 and up. Nobody who is 20 years and older was going to enter into Eretz Yisrael. They would have to wait out the years in the Midbar until all those people passed away. The Medrash points out that despite the fact that they sinned, they were still tzaddikim. They were still righteous individuals. They were the Dor Deya. They experienced Hashem. They were the Oichle Hamon. They were eating the manna. So yes, they had a lack of emunah. They had a lack of belief. They had an impatience, but they were tzaddikim. And they all lived out their lives as fully as possible to the age of 60. Now let's see, says the Medrash, what's the difference to Pasuk Malachi? What's the difference between a righteous individual and a wicked individual, and between a person who serves Hashem and someone who doesn't serve Hashem? And by the way, when we say Bayurei, come and see, it's like, hold on a second. Anything you thought was true, put it on pause. I'm going to show you something you didn't know. Which means to say, have some patience and listen up and find out something new. How do you tell the difference between someone who serves Hashem and someone who doesn't? Where do you see who's a tzaddik and who's a rasha? Says the Medrash, a mashal, an analogy. There was a king and a queen, and the queen had a maidservant, and this maidservant, before the maidservant, so her husband the king went to Medina Sayam, he left the country, he had important state matters to deal with elsewhere. The night before the king was to return, this maidservant says to her master, to the woman, to the princess, to the queen, I'm prettier than you, and the king loves me more than you. So she was maybe a Pilegesh, or it's not clear exactly. The queen said to her, in the morning, maybe because it's nighttime, you could think that you're prettier than me. But the morning will come, and the king will return, and we'll see who's prettier to him, and who is more beloved to him. In a similar way, the nations of the world say to the Jewish people, we have replaced you, whether it's the Christian world, whether it's the Arab world, the Muslim world, we have replaced you as the chosen one of God. And we're the ones we're doing it the way God really wants it. We are beloved to Him. Our actions are beautiful to Him. Yeshaya the prophet, Isaiah the prophet says, the morning will come and we'll know who Hashem desires. Shneimar, Amar Shomer, Asa Baiker V'gam Laila. The Shomer, which means a guard, a watchman, says, the morning comes and also the night. Which, by the way, the word watchman, the word Shomer, as we'll see, it means to wait. Someone who's Shomer, it says by Yosef, he had a dream, he told his dream to his brothers, they got upset at him. Yaakov hears the dream, Vaviv Shomer Sadavar, which means Yaakov was waiting, as Rashi explains, was waiting to see when this dream would come true, when his son Yosef would become the leader over his kids. Shomer Sadavar means to wait in anticipation, patiently. When's it going to happen? And Yaakov would have to wait 22 years. But the Shomer says, wait till the morning. The Shomer, who's the Shomer? It's really Am Yisrael. We're the ones who are the Shomer mitzvahs. We keep the Torah. Which, by the way, there's a lot of waiting. We're counting off from Pesach to Shavuos. We're counting off the Shivas Yimei Nida. We're waiting. There's a lot of waiting. We're counting off the days, waiting, Mechakev for Moshiach. We're waiting. Yes, we do want to wait. We want Moshiach, but we want to wait. What are we waiting for? We're waiting for the morning. The future time will come, the world to come. That moment will arrive, and we'll see who it was indeed that Hashem desired. Pasuk again says in Malachi, which we quoted before, V'shavtem urisim in tzaddik l'rasha. You'll come back, the Pasuk says, and you'll see who's the tzaddik, who's the righteous one, and who's the wicked one. You're going to come back. That means you're going to wait. You're going to go somewhere, and you're going to wait, and you're going to come back and find out really who is the one. And it has to do with waiting. It says something in the Medrash that seems disconnected, but we're going to see how it's deeply, deeply connected. The Medrash says, all of the mistakes, all the foolish things that Am Yisrael does, all the years, all the days of the year, it goes up onto the scale. Meaning, we do an Aveira. We're switching topics for a moment here. Listen carefully. A person does an Aveira, you put the Aveira, or the mitzvah, onto the scale. It gets placed there. Now, when does Hashem pull out the scales and erase the sins? When is Hashem moichel us? It's in Tishrei, on Yom Kippur. The Pasuk says, on this day Hashem forgives us. That's the end of the Medrash. Hashem forgives us on Yom Kippur. The Marzu explains that what it means to say is that when Moshe Rabbeinu asked for forgiveness for Am Yisrael, it was on Tisha B'Av. It was Tisha B'Av. From Tisha B'Av until Yom Kippur, which is exactly 2 months later, 60 days later, interesting, the number 60. The forgiveness took place later. We had to wait for the forgiveness. It didn't happen right away. And then we have to wait 40 years for Am Yisrael to be worthy again, to be able to come into Eretz Yisrael. And it's not going to be the same people, it's going to be their kids, but it's going to be their kids. Not Moshe Rabbeinu, a new nation from Moshe. So there's a waiting. You have to wait till Yom Kippur. You want mechila. You want to be forgiven. Moshe Rabbeinu asked for forgiveness. Hashem says, wait. We're going to get to it. We're going to get to it when we get to Yom Kippur. We're going to get to that. You got to wait for it, the mechila. Hashem wants to forgive us, but it takes time for that forgiveness to occur. Either because we need an opportunity to do tshuva, right? It's not enough for Moshe Rabbeinu to ask on our behalf. We got to do tshuva ourselves. We got to recognize our mistake and change. But besides for that, the very waiting itself for an answer. I'm waiting. What's going to be? I'm waiting for an answer. What's going to be? Are we going to be able to destroy these nuclear reactors? Is America going to join into the fight? I'm waiting for the answer. I'm waiting for Moshiach. Klal Yisrael has returned to Eretz Yisrael since 1948. It's so many years later, 77 years later. We're waiting. We're waiting. Is this the beginning of the process? Is this the ekvis of the Moshiach? Are these the footsteps? Are we there? Are we almost there? We're waiting. And in the waiting is the kapara. In the waiting is the atonement. In the waiting is where we find Hashem. The human being, the ego, we want it now. We want Eretz Yisrael now. We want Moshiach now. We want our salvation now. We want our financial problems to be solved now. We want our interpersonal problems solved now. We want that shidduch now. We want that baby now. All the things that we want so badly, we want to fix those problems. We're going to solve the shidduch crisis now. We're going to take it all now. We're going to grab it all now. And it's in that pause. It's in that waiting. That's where our problems are solved. It's in the silence. Our mind is so busy. Our mind is so active. Our mind is so what is our mind doing? It's always solving problems. He's trying to fix things now. Oh, this one hurt my feelings. I'm going to get back at them. You should apologize. This kid, how do I fix this problem with my kid? So noisy. It's all in my mind. But my heart's the place where I could pause. Bring it into my heart. If I could bring it into my heart. I talked about mechila. I talked about being meichel people. I want that person to apologize to me before I'm going to forgive them. I want it now, forgiveness. But you know what? Can I find forgiveness in my heart without them asking for it? That requires a really deep pause. Of realizing that, hey, it's not them. It's Hashem. And in realizing that, hey, could I do the same thing? I could. And it's not to say that that person is right. I'm not saying that what they did is correct. If I forgive somebody, it doesn't mean that their behavior was right, but it means that the poison that's in me, I got to get rid of it. I got to get it out of me. I got to forgive them. And when I forgive them, as we saw, and I invite you once again to Bitachon number 213, it creates a shield for me. It creates a shield for Am Yisrael. It creates a power of rachamim, for compassion, for Hashem, to bring the people out of the hospital so that when that thing falls, they're protected. That's created by our mechila. That's created by our mechila. Somebody wrote on on the comments on the podcast that they had been estranged, disconnected from their parents. Held grudges against them. And they started a reconciliation process. That's amazing. That's a pause. It's a pause from all the noise of my head, all of the ego. That's a pause. That's a stepping back and saying, hey, I gotta fix this. Am Yisrael's been waiting a long time for Moshiach. Who's the tzaddik? It's an amazing thing what the Medrash is saying. Who is the tzaddik? The tzaddik is somebody who knows how to stop and pause and wait. Yaakov is waiting to see how it's going to play out, and it takes a long time to play out. It takes 22 years. And Yosef learns from his father. He's in jail for 12 years. How does he do that? How does he wait so long? And he finally comes out, and he can't even contact his father and his brothers and his family. It takes another 10 years. Or more precisely, 9 years. He's waiting a long time, but that's the tzaddik. Yosef is the tzaddik. And he's the Michael, like we said in the Bitachon podcast. He's the one who knows how to see that it's Hashem. He's got that connection to Hashem, which is in the pause, which is in the heart, which is in my heart, which is the place of mechila, the place of forgiving. I want to bless you. I ask you to bless us. Hashem should help us to see all of our mistakes come from this impatience, this disbelief that Hashem's going to help us, this disbelief that we can get what we need. It might take a little longer than we think. Hashem should help us to be able to wait. And that waiting should be a kapara for us, for our impatience. And it should serve to burn off our ego, our gaiva, our impatience. Hashem should help us to live in that space, to live in the space of the heart instead of just the space of the mind. Hashem should help us to indeed be able to pause, to forgive, and to wait. Thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful Shabbos.
This podcast was made possible through the gracious donations of listeners like you. For more podcasts like this, please visit www.arigoldwag.com or search on iTunes Ari Goldwag.